The night began like any other for Daniel Cross. Grease popped on the flat-top grill, the smell of burnt toast hung in the air, and the last of the late-night regulars nursed their coffee in the corner booth of the diner. Daniel worked quickly and silently, eyes lowered, sleeves rolled to his elbows, moving with the calm precision of a man who wanted to be noticed by no one. 8-year-old Lily was already asleep in the back office, curled up with her sketchbook, dreaming of princesses and secret gardens. Daniel glanced at her every few minutes, reassuring himself she was safe. That was his life now. Small, predictable, quiet. The kind of life that didn't make ripples. But quiet lives are fragile. They break at the first wrong sound. It happened after midnight, inside the grand ballroom of the Sterling Hotel, only 3 blocks from the diner. A charity gala for the city's elite was wrapping up. Adrian Cole, a rising finance CEO known for his clean image, slipped away from the crowd for a few minutes of solitude in the lounge. He loosened his tie, exhaled, and thought of how badly he wanted to go home. That's when the lights dimmed. Not all at once, just enough to feel wrong. And 3 masked men stepped from the shadows. "Keep your mouth shut, Mr. Cole," one hissed, pressing him back into a chair. But before Adrian could even answer, the door burst open. Not from security, not from help, just a man in a grease-stained cook's jacket, face unreadable, stepping into the room because he'd heard something no one else had. A muffled cry through a service hallway. Daniel didn't stop to think. He never did when danger called. It was muscle memory, the kind no ordinary man should have. The first attacker swung a bottle. Daniel snatched it midair, shattered it on the table's edge, and drove the jagged glass to the floor in one fluid motion, forcing the man down with brutal efficiency. The second rushed from the side. Daniel used a broken chair leg like a staff, knocking him breathless. The last man lunged with a knife. Daniel's body moved faster than his own thoughts. Twist, slam, disarm. The blade clattered harmlessly to the floor. In less than 20 seconds, it was over. Adrian stared at him, stunned. "Who the hell are you?" Daniel didn't answer. He just turned and walked away, heart pounding. He'd done what any decent man would do, or so he told himself. But the truth was, his movements were far too precise, too lethal, and someone had seen everything. Across the room, a shaken guest held up a phone, recording every second of Daniel's impossible speed. The video would be online within the hour, spreading with one question. Who is this guy? By the time Daniel reached home, the clip was already trending. Faces he'd avoided for years were suddenly looking for him again. Dangerous faces from a past he swore was buried. Lily was still asleep, unaware that her father's quiet life had just ended. In another corner of the city, Victor Kane watched the grainy footage with cold recognition. "I know him," he muttered. "I thought he was dead." Daniel Cross hated the sound of his own name on the news. He hadn't heard it in years, not like this. Whispered, dissected, turned into a headline. Mysterious cook takes down 3 armed men. Who is the hero in the Sterling Hotel video? Every station had the clip. Slow-motion replays of his fists, his speed, his precision, the way he moved like someone trained to kill. Daniel sat on the edge of his bed that morning, staring at the old scars on his knuckles. Lily was still asleep, breathing softly under her blanket. He'd promised her a life far from danger, a life her mother never got to see. Now, with one impulsive act, he'd shattered that fragile peace. Meanwhile, Adrian Cole couldn't stop thinking about the man who saved his life. His assistant, Mara Lynn, showed him her phone with the clip already gaining millions of views. "Find out who he is," Adrian ordered. "Daniel Cross," Mara replied, reading quickly. "No history. No records. Just nothing." "People don't move like that without training," Adrian said quietly. "He's not a cook. Not just a cook." Adrian didn't know yet that his curiosity would cost him. By noon, Daniel felt eyes on him everywhere. In the diner, at Lily's school, in the reflection of passing cars. It wasn't paranoia. It was instinct. The same instinct that once kept him alive when his government sent him into places that didn't officially exist. When he picked Lily up from class, she noticed his tension. "Daddy, why are we walking so fast?" "Just a game," he lied, forcing a smile. "We're racing home." But danger wasn't waiting at home. It was already circling. A black SUV parked across the street. No plates, no movement, just waiting. Daniel recognized the pattern. Surveillance without a badge. Whoever was inside wasn't police. That night, while Lily drew pictures of castles in her room, Daniel pulled an old duffel bag from the back of his closet. Inside were things he swore never to touch again: a passport under a false name, cash, a compact pistol, and a photograph of his wife. He stared at it for a long time, his chest tightening. "I promised you I was done with this life." On the other side of town, Victor Kane reviewed Daniel's file. He'd known men like him, ghosts trained to disappear. "If he's alive, he's a threat," Victor told his men, "and threats don't get second chances." The next evening, Daniel tried to pretend everything was normal. Lily wanted pancakes for dinner, so he made them, flipping them in the pan as if the world outside hadn't changed. But when she went to bed, he sat by her door with the pistol on his lap, listening to every sound in the hallway. At midnight, someone knocked. A single, deliberate knock. Daniel opened the door an inch. Adrian Cole stood there, still in his suit, looking nervous but determined. "I need to talk," Adrian whispered, "about the men who attacked me. About you." Daniel's jaw tightened. He wanted to slam the door, but behind Adrian, down the dim hallway, two figures moved closer. Too close, too quiet. Daniel saw it before Adrian did. "Get inside," Daniel growled, pulling him in just as the first shot shattered the doorframe. The bullet splintered the frame just inches from Daniel's head. Lily woke up screaming. Daniel didn't think. He moved. In one fluid motion, he shoved Adrian to the floor, yanked Lily from her bed with his free arm, and swept them both into the narrow hallway. "Stay low. Don't speak," Daniel hissed, his voice like steel. Lily clung to his neck, shaking. Adrian, stunned, crawled after them. The second shot came from the window, clean, deliberate, a professional's warning. Whoever was outside wasn't trying to scare him. They were testing him, confirming their target. Daniel kicked open the back door to the fire escape, leading them down 3 flights of rusted metal stairs. His instincts were awake now, raw and unfiltered. Every shadow was a threat, every sound a trap. He'd lived this life before, and it had nearly cost him everything. He wouldn't let it take Lily. By the time they reached the alley, 2 men in dark coats blocked the exit. Not amateurs. Their stance told Daniel they'd done this before. Adrian froze, breath ragged. Daniel didn't. He shifted Lily to his left arm and used his right to disarm the first man with a twist so violent, Adrian swore he heard bone crack. The second raised a gun, but Daniel slammed the first man into him before he could fire. The gun skittered across the pavement. "Run!" Daniel barked. Adrian grabbed Lily's hand and bolted down the alley. Daniel followed, his heartbeat pounding in his ears, leaving 2 groaning attackers behind. 3 blocks later, they ducked into an abandoned laundromat. The place smelled of mildew and rust, but it was quiet. Daniel locked the door, forcing himself to breathe. Lily buried her face in his chest, trembling. Adrian finally found his voice. "What was that? Who are you?" Daniel looked at him with eyes that held no warmth. "The man you should have walked away from the second you saw that video. I was just trying to thank you. You don't thank me. You stay away from me." Daniel's voice was ice. "These people, they don't forgive. They don't forget. And now they've seen your face." Adrian swallowed hard. "Then help me understand who's coming after you." Daniel hesitated. He'd spent years burying that life. The missions that didn't exist. The orders signed by no one. The faces of men he'd left behind. But now those ghosts had names again. One in particular. Victor Kane. Meanwhile, Kane was already moving. His men had failed, but he wasn't worried. Daniel Cross wouldn't run far. He never did. "Find the girl," Kane ordered coldly. "The father will come to us." Back in the laundromat, Lily looked up at her dad, her small voice breaking the silence. "Daddy, are we going to be okay?" Daniel's throat tightened. "I'll keep you safe. I promise," he didn't add what he was really thinking. "I might have to kill to keep that promise." Adrian stepped forward, lowering his voice. "You saved my life. Let me help you protect hers. I have resources, people I can trust." Daniel shook his head. Trust is how people get killed. But then, through the dusty glass door, headlights flared. A black SUV rolling slow, stopping across the street. "They found us," Daniel muttered. "We move, now." Daniel Cross didn't like running. Running meant losing control. Running meant leaving tracks. But tonight, with Lily pressed against his chest and Adrian Cole at his side, there was no other option. The black SUV's doors opened slowly, deliberately. Two men stepped out, both dressed like businessmen leaving the office, except for the way they moved, like predators on a leash. Daniel didn't wait for them to speak. He slipped into the back streets, guiding Lily and Adrian through alleys only someone with a memory for escape routes could know. The city hummed around them, neon signs buzzing, sirens far off, but every sound felt like a warning. By the time they reached Adrian's underground garage, Daniel's shirt was damp with sweat, his breathing controlled but ragged. Adrian's security badge got them inside, the metal gate rattling shut behind them. "Tell me who they are," Adrian demanded as they stepped into the elevator. "People I used to work with, or for. Doesn't matter anymore. It matters if they're trying to kill you, and me." Daniel didn't answer. He just squeezed Lily's shoulder, forcing a smile for her sake. On the top floor of Adrian's luxury apartment, Mara Lynn was waiting. Calm, sharp-eyed, already scanning Lily for injuries before she even looked at Daniel. "What happened?" she asked. Adrian exhaled, still shaken. "They tried to kill him, and they saw me." "Then we lock this place down," Mara said, pulling out her phone. "I'll handle security." Daniel shook his head. "They'll burn through security like it's tissue. You don't understand who you're dealing with." "Then make me understand," Mara shot back, not flinching. Daniel stared at her for a long moment. He wasn't used to people who didn't scare easily. Finally, he spoke, his voice low. "My name used to mean something to men like that. I was part of a unit that didn't officially exist. We did the things no one wanted to admit needed doing. Then I disappeared. Or tried to." Adrian listened carefully. Mara didn't blink. "And now they know you're alive," she said. Daniel nodded once. "Victor Kane. He ran contracts overseas. If he's coming after me, it's because I got in his way before. This time, he's not coming to scare me. He's coming to erase me." Across the city, Kane was already planning his next move. His lieutenants had traced Daniel's route. The failed hit in the alley didn't bother him. It confirmed something better than a kill would have. Daniel still had his edge. "Bring me the daughter," Kane ordered coldly. "The father will follow." Back in the apartment, Lily curled up on the sofa with a blanket while Mara brought her warm milk. Adrian sat opposite Daniel at the kitchen table. "You can't do this alone," Adrian said quietly. "I've done it alone for years," Daniel replied. "Not with a child in the crosshairs." The words hit Daniel like a blade twisting in his chest. He'd spent every waking moment since his wife's death keeping Lily away from danger. Now, danger was pounding at the door. "Let me help you," Adrian continued. "I have money, contacts, safe houses. I can hide her while you deal with this." Daniel's jaw clenched. "I don't hide my daughter. I protect her." Mara cut in, voice firm. "Then let's stop arguing and start planning. If Kane's moving against you, we need to move first." Daniel met her eyes. For the first time, he saw something more than skepticism. He saw someone willing to fight beside him. But while they spoke, a shadow moved in the hallway outside the apartment door. A camera lens glinted, then vanished. Kane's men had found them again, faster than Daniel expected. Inside, Lily fell asleep on the couch, unaware of the danger creeping closer. Daniel stood over her, brushing her hair back, whispering a silent promise. "I won't lose you too." The elevator chimed, a sound too soft, too late at night to be friendly. Daniel's hand went to his pistol. "Adrian," he murmured, eyes narrowing at the door. "Get her to the panic room. Now." The elevator stopped with a hollow clang. Daniel Cross felt it before he heard it. The hush of the building's air shifting, the faint vibration underfoot. Whoever was coming didn't press the doorbell. They didn't knock. They were professionals. "Panic room, now," Daniel said again, sharper this time. Adrian scooped Lily into his arms. The girl stirred, mumbling softly, but didn't wake. Mara keyed in the code on a hidden panel, sliding open a narrow steel door in the wall. The panic room wasn't big, but it was airtight and secure. Daniel stayed outside. "Get in," Adrian hissed. "Not yet," Daniel replied, voice calm, eyes on the hallway. "They're not here for you. They're here for me. If I hide, we're all dead." The apartment lights dimmed, cut remotely. A second later, the front door blew inward on its hinges. Two men in black tactical gear entered, silent and precise. They expected an easy kill. Daniel met them with a speed they didn't expect. He fired twice, not to kill, but to drive them behind the marble kitchen island. He moved low, fast, using the darkness like an old friend. The first man lunged out, but Daniel was already behind him, smashing the butt of his pistol into the back of his skull. The second man tried to retreat. Daniel tackled him hard, knocking the rifle free. "Who sent you?" Daniel growled, pressing the gun to the man's throat. The man sneered. "You already know." Daniel's jaw tightened. Kane. Always Kane. A third figure appeared in the doorway. Too late for stealth, firing blindly. Bullets shredded the sofa, glass shattered. Daniel yanked Mara out of cover just in time. Adrian, inside the panic room, held Lily close, eyes wide as he watched through the security feed. Daniel moved like liquid shadow. 3 shots, 3 bodies down. Quick, efficient, brutal. But his face told the truth. He hated how easy it still was. When the smoke cleared, the apartment was ruined. Security alarms screamed, red lights flashing. Daniel pushed the last man's body aside, scanning for more. Nothing. For now. Mara stared at him. "You're not just some ex-soldier, are you?" Daniel didn't answer. He just wiped blood from his knuckles. "Pack your things. We're leaving." Adrian stepped out with Lily clinging to his neck. "Where?" "Someplace they won't expect," Daniel said. "But it won't hold long. If Kane wants me, he won't stop. And now he knows I'm not alone." Mara crossed her arms. "Then we stop him first." Daniel gave her a long look. "You really want in on this?" She didn't blink. "I don't let my boss die in his own living room." That night they drove in silence, headlights carving tunnels through the dark. Daniel led them to an abandoned farmhouse on the edge of the city. A place he used once, long ago, to disappear between missions. Inside, Lily curled up in her father's jacket, asleep on a dusty mattress. Adrian and Mara sat at the kitchen table while Daniel cleaned his gun, hands steady, face cold. "This ends one way," Daniel said quietly. "We hit him before he hits us. I draw him out, take him down. You two keep Lily safe." Adrian frowned. "That's not a plan. That's suicide." "It's the only thing I know how to do," Daniel replied. Mara leaned forward. "Then we make it a plan. Kane wants you. Good. Let's give him what he wants. On our terms." Daniel studied her for a moment. For the first time, a flicker of respect softened his features. Across town, Victor Kane poured himself a drink, watching the surveillance feed from the failed hit. He smiled coldly. "He's still dangerous? Good. I'd hate for this to be boring." Dawn crept over the farmhouse in pale gray streaks. Daniel Cross stood at the window, pistol holstered, eyes scanning the empty field. He hadn't slept. Couldn't. Every instinct in him screamed that Kane would strike soon. Maybe today. Behind him, Lily stirred under her blanket. She looked so small, so peaceful, as if the world outside couldn't touch her. Daniel whispered a silent vow. "Whatever happens, you will never lose me, like you lost your mother." Adrian joined him at the window, dark circles under his eyes. "You ready for this?" he asked quietly. "I've been ready since they found us," Daniel replied. "What about after?" "When Kane's gone." Daniel didn't answer. He didn't know if there was an after for men like him. By mid-morning, the plan was in motion. Mara drove Lily to a trusted contact, a retired field agent who owed Daniel his life. "You'll be safe," Daniel told his daughter, kneeling to meet her eyes. "Promise you'll come back," Lily whispered. Daniel smiled, but his voice cracked. "Promise." Daniel let Kane find him. An abandoned rail yard, wide open, no cover, the perfect killing ground. Daniel stood alone in the dust, unarmed, jacket unbuttoned, hands loose at his sides. He looked like a man walking into death, and that was the point. Kane arrived with 6 men, black SUVs fanning out like wolves. The man himself stepped out last, expensive coat draped over his shoulders, wearing a smile that never touched his eyes. "I thought you were dead," Kane called. "You almost got your wish," Daniel replied. "Step aside, Daniel. This doesn't have to end messy." "It always ends messy," Daniel said. The first shot came from the rooftop, not Daniel's. Mara had taken position above, rifle steady. One of Kane's men dropped instantly. Chaos erupted. Daniel dove for cover as Adrian triggered the explosive charge they'd planted under a derelict train car. The blast ripped through the yard, scattering Kane's men. Daniel moved fast, faster than any of them expected. years of muscle memory kicking in, precision born of training no normal man ever survived. Close quarters now. Daniel disarmed one man, drove him hard into the ground. Another swung a rifle stock. Daniel broke his arm with a twist, took the weapon, and used it against the next. Mara's cover fire pinned the rest down. Finally, it was just Kane. The man tried to run for his SUV, but Daniel caught him, slamming him against the door. "You threatened my daughter," Daniel growled. "That was your last mistake." Kane smirked even with Daniel's gun at his throat. "You can't outrun what you are. You kill me, another takes my place. Men like us never get to be free." Daniel hesitated, breath sharp, anger and memory boiling in his chest. Then he lowered the gun. "You're wrong. Men like us get to choose who we protect." Police sirens wailed in the distance. Mara had tipped them off, ensuring Kane's empire would crumble in daylight. Daniel shoved Kane forward as flashing lights closed in. "You're done," he said flatly, walking away without a backward glance. Hours later, Daniel kept his promise. Lily ran into his arms, burying her face against his chest as if she'd never let go. Adrian and Mara stood nearby, bruised and exhausted, but alive. "You could have killed him," Adrian said softly. "I've killed enough men," Daniel replied, holding Lily tighter. For the first time in years, Daniel felt something he thought he'd lost forever. Peace. Not the kind you hide in, but the kind you earn by facing everything you're afraid of. That night, in the quiet of the farmhouse, Lily drew a picture of her family. Her dad, and two new friends standing under a bright sun. Daniel watched her, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Does this mean you're staying?" Adrian asked. Daniel nodded slowly. "No more running. Not from them. Not from who I am." Daniel's secret past didn't define him. His choices did. He wasn't just a ghost or a soldier or a man on the run. He was a father, and that was worth fighting for.